put everything on, Danny.
Like the ones that, yeah. You're right. Alright, calm, let's do this.
So what we on?
Alright, let's start. We ready?
Yeah.
Back again. Another episode of A Muslim and an Atheist Breaks Bread. What are you saying, Pop?
I'm good, man.
We're good?
Yeah.
Right,
In
so...
this fake summer.
I told you, man, we had summer last Wednesday. There's no summer's done, long gone.
Yo.
So, we did a video last week about the Kaliyuga, which I referenced to like being like the Kaliyuga, as some people keep saying to me, but like the end of days, so it's the last cycle. There's 4 yugs, which we will look into. I think we did do a video early on about the creation story, and it had all the yugs in that, to be fair. But there was a lot of things written 5,000 years ago about how or what the Kaliyuga would look like and how man would be behaving. And a lot of that people say is coming to fruition. So people believe that this is the last cycle.
End days.
Yeah, end days. So I believe that means it's the death of Brahman and then a new one's born. I believe. But correct me if I'm wrong, people. So I found a video. I found a few videos actually, but I thought there's a Sadhguru video of him saying that it's not true. We are not in the Kaliyuga. So I'd like to know his reason for not thinking this is the Kaliyuga. So, yeah, you ready? Let's jump.
These were called the dark ages because human beings did terrible things to each other. In which yuga you are determines how much etheric body. They're still talking this is Kaliyuga, because Krishna said it's Kaliyuga. But how we create the next step or how the next generations live is determined by us. Well, this whole thing is going on, that at least in the news channels, they're still talking this is Kaliyuga, because Krishna said it's Kaliyuga. When? 5,124 years ago. So since then, the cumulative aspect of Kali, which lasts for 2,592 years over, and Dwapara is also 2,592 years, that will get over sometime in 2082. That means another 58 years, is it? 58 years. Nearly 60 years. If you live for another 60 years, you'll see Treta Yuga. This doesn't mean on one day it'll become Treta. See, when we say winter, it doesn't mean one fine day it's winter. It happens. Summer, it's not like one day suddenly it became summer, it slowly happens.
Really?
So what you're calling as yugas is a kind of a larger season, larger scape of seasons. In these seasons, in winter, trees are one way, animals are another way, in spring they're another way, in summer they're another way. Similarly, life on this planet will be different ways in these different yugas because this is a super seasonal system. So Kali is a time when we are furthest end of the elliptical cycle. Because of that, there are many ways to look at it. One important thing is, see, among the 5 bodies or the 5 layers of bodies that we carry, particularly with reference to human beings, the physical body or Annamaya Kosha, mental body or Manomaya Kosha, energy body or Pranamaya Kosha, and Vijnanamaya Kosha or the etheric body. The question is always about how much Annamaya Kosha do you have, how dominant is your Annamaya Kosha, or how dominant is your Manomaya Kosha, or how dominant is your etheric or Vijnanamaya Kosha. Accordingly, you will function. So these seasons in some way determine this. One can see in the 4 seasons that we see, a whole… in this country, in this… at 11 degrees latitude, you may not notice it so much, but it is there. Only because they noticed it, Tamil Nadu has Margali Masam and Magha Masam, various other… across the country, everybody recognized that month as a low-spirited month, and so people are doing things to enhance themselves. But if you go to temperate countries, significantly different between winter situations and spring situations, phenomenal difference. You can't believe you're in the same world. If you go in the winter, like everything looks like it's the end of the world. Spring comes, boom, everything is back. So, at least in this part of the hemisphere or the northern half of the hemisphere, it is like this. It is reverse in the southern hemisphere, but the same things happen. So similarly in the supercycle also the same thing happens. But in terms of human beings, whether your physical body is dominant or mental body is dominant, energetic body is dominant or etheric body is dominant, depends on where these regular yearly cycles are also like that to some extent, but the super cycle decides a lot more. In which yuga you are determines how much etheric body. This does not mean it's a determining factor, absolutely.
It's kind of true, isn't it? Like, you know, summertime, everyone's just like feeling good vibes.
I'm just wondering what he's on about, because it just sounds like normal,
Seasons.
every day he's talking about, yeah, you know,
But
everything
I'm
is
thinking…
transitional.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking like, is he doing a discredit to
What the other people are saying.
yeah, like the yugs here, because he's kind of like dismissing it, like just to say like, yeah, it's just like the weather. But if that's like your creation story, then you're talking about how the gods portion their time, and that's essentially your cycle of time, which should be a major thing, not just like the weather. It's like, it's kind of just like, yeah, but really all it's saying is that when the seasons change, people's attitudes change. But really, them yugs, as I understand it, is meant to symbolize the death of your god. So, are you kind of understating it because you don't want to think that you're in the Kaliyuga? Do you know what I mean? Or I don't know. We'll see.
I'm just thinking what to think about it. Because it sounds like this, it sounds like that, but again, it's two different schools of thought, and he's talking about it very middle of the road, understandable and plain. He's obviously put the time spans in and cycles and says, look, it's nothing that's just going to change. These things just phase through.
But no one said that it just changes on that day anyway. Like, I think people would presume that, like, it doesn't just change.
No, he said it, and he said it, that it won't just change, it won't be sudden, it will be like how winter comes and how summer comes, it transitions in.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying, so what information is he giving us?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that I'm saying exactly. I'm saying the same thing as you, and it like it might take 50 years for it, like it to get real bad.
But how do you know when you're in it except doing the maths, innit? Because he's saying, right, 2,356.42718 almost. He's left off the decimal point, but it's kind of exact to the day, and then he says it's transitional, it phases in.
But it's almost like, I don't know, but I'm gonna assume they work that out by some like astrology. Yeah, because it's almost the same. It's almost the same way that they were doing physics, and like I said to you, 5,000 years ago. So I'm gonna assume the same way, like they lined the pyramids up or whatever. They got this mathematics in it. Is what I'm trying to say.
Let me see.
Go on, keep going.
Yeah, it's just, we'd have to hear the other argument to understand again what they were saying exactly, because I can't remember. I just know what he's saying just sounds like live and let live. Get on with it.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? You know, everything's gonna be the way it is anyway.
Sorry, camera people.
summer's still gonna come, winter's still gonna come, but the time period's gonna change from the year of the cow to the year of the sheep, effectively. Just another calendar, another set of thing. But theirs is supposed to be inherited from what they're saying, a greater, a higher source. And
This is what I'm trying to say. Is he kind of demeaning that by this analogy, or the way he's trying to explain it? Let's see what else he's got to say. Though. He might come up with something.
I think he's demeaning it.
It is not an absolute, it is an influence. You can be in any yuga and be fantastic. You can be in any yuga and be a mess. This experience of all this is not a question of you being good or bad, or you being people.
See, just then, like, I get what he's saying. Like, it's like bad people are going to be bad, and you can't judge everyone by the same.
It's a calendar, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the people are in, it's just a calendar marking time.
Yes, but what I'm saying to you is there's levels of depravity, isn't there? So what he's saying is like it's almost like when the mass of society start to have that way of thinking, that's when you know it's coming to the end days. It's like if everyone starts thinking that, you know, morals, or if everyone's moral compass disappears, then your social values are going to be lowered. So then you're going to be more likely to do, what's the word I'm looking for? You're going to be more likely to do depravity because you have no moral compass. So what it's saying is the way the world is going is leading to that. Whereas he's just trying to say, yeah, but there's always going to be good people and there's always going to be bad people, which I agree to an extent. But we have to look at it and say, are more people now more focused on greed and materialism, and are willing probably to do a lot of things to get those things? Like, look, and the one thing that I'm going to say, which makes me think this is, look at how readily we've made it acceptable for people to sell their bodies. Now, people used to do it. I'm not saying that it hasn't always happened, but now it's just a common practice. It's not even blinked at now. Like, you can go set up an OnlyFans. You can literally advertise yourself on the internet where children are every single day. Do you know, like, at least it used to be like a 9 o'clock watershed, or these things used to be hidden. But now it's just at the forefront of society. So I'm saying that by lowering people's moral standards, we've just allowed depravity to come and say, okay, so this is the new norm now. So we just think it's normal. We don't even think that these things are bad or good. It's like, so if your daughter comes home and she's doing all this madness, or your son or whatever, people don't even think it's bad now because it's seen as, oh yeah, but you're just being independent. Oh, but you're making your own money. Who am I to judge? Who am I to say this? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, I'm hearing you, but I don't know. I said, does an action make someone bad?
No.
Right?
But what is
I'm
good
saying.
and bad?
What he's saying is there are good people and there are bad people. Society, environment, and everything else impacts on those people differently. So you get a response every time, which is, again, human nature. The concept of sin in Christianity is you're born with it. Everywhere else you earn it. So you do something, you've sinned. In Christianity, you're just a sinner anyway. So, you know, to me, there's always going to be that mix of people, good people who make mistakes or do bad things, repent, turn around and do have morals, regardless of, for example, I know a bishop whose daughter was a madam in the newspaper, very famous local people.
Okay.
Very successful at what she does. Great businesswoman. It's just, it wasn't exactly what she learned about at church, you know, as the bishop's daughter. But in terms of being a business successful woman, she was successful till they locked her up. So yeah, society does allow you to be successful, but was it right? That's a different question altogether. Yes, she was successful under the, what people judge you by, but how she achieved that success obviously was dodgy, because even the people who would celebrate her achievements are the ones who locked her up, because dodgy. But what he's talking about is at the base level. There's always going to be people who are good and wicked bastards. Sorry.
No, it's cool.
But that's how the thing go. This world full of all sorts. The time, the season is not going to change. Day, night. As I always say, really there's just one day. Everybody's living in that same day continually until your time's up. And there's good, bad, and indifferent all on that same day. It's just the seasons and what man puts into mark time makes it appear like things is going. Historically they can't remember the past because there's some apocalyptic thing wipes out everything. Then you have people who have fragments of that or try to put it back together and repackage and represent. I'm going to assume if the Bible stories, India got flooded too. So lots of them got wiped out, and the people who are conveying this old 8,000 year information are those people who don't have all the information. So they're doing their best with where they've managed to get to. Learning is increasing as with them finding out how to, Hebrew was dead, they brought it back to life. So they found ways of regenerating things. And learning new stuff, but it's not new stuff, it's just remembering old stuff that's been lost.
Yeah.
So there's always going to
With a
be
twist.
good and evil, because that's the structure of the world. But
Yeah.
how society functions.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's go.
About saying, see, the moment you have prejudice about something, somebody becomes a sinner and somebody becomes a saint. How does this happen? You set some values. If somebody cannot live up to that, they are sinners. If somebody can live up to that, they are saints. But these values keep changing from geography to geography, age to age, time to time, they're changing. That's not the important thing. The important thing is we understand that as we sit here, we are who we are as a consequence of what we are doing within ourselves. Now the question is only, is what we are doing within ourselves happening consciously or unconsciously? If we are doing it consciously, the consequence would be the way we want it. If we are doing it unconsciously, the consequence is random, and the random consequence may be sometimes very painful, sometimes troublesome to you, largely to others. Hello? If you start acting crazy, you're troubled, of course, but you may get extra attention. But others suffer a lot, people around you. So, these aspects are not absolutes, but this is the general influence. Well, during the Kaliyuga, which ended 2000 plus years ago, these were called the dark ages, because human beings did terrible things to each other, and not only did terrible things, they did it large scale. That doesn't mean we did not do terrible things in Dwapara Yuga, we also did. But still, it is not the norm, at least we know it's wrong. That's a big difference. If you're doing something terrible, at least you know this is not the thing to do. You think that's the right thing to do, then it's a different case because there's no room for correction. That will become the way of the world itself, which is what it was in the past. Many things that we think is impossible that human beings can do were normally done in the past and accepted as the right thing to do. So, we are just close to Treta Yuga, we don't have to wait for it. See, it didn't wait, it's not yet summer, but already it's making us sweat. Why don't we also be one step ahead of times? Hello? So this is why it's very important. Whether the previous generations put the foundation for something or not determines how much the next generation will build, isn't it? This goes for a house, this goes for a nation, this goes for your consciousness. How much foundation have people will build will determine how much the future generations will do. So this is where we are in terms of time. You may not see the glorious palace that will be built on top of it, but at least you made the foundations and maybe you built a mock room and enjoyed it also, little bit of palace, which we are beginning to in many ways. There are a whole lot of people going on propagating, life is getting worse day by day, life is getting worse day by day. But please look at it, how people lived here 500 years ago, how we are living today. Isn't everything better? Everything, especially ladies. You have to say big yes. Yes! Because for women on this planet, life has never been this good ever, all over the world. So, how we make the next step is in our hands. We are like this because somebody built something fundamental, so we have come to this place. But how we create the next step or how the next generations live is determined by us. So at a time like this, when I say at a time like this, when we are moving from one yuga to another, when the season is changing from winter to spring, we must be ready to blossom. Hello? In many ways, the times we are in are very significant because I may not see it, I will not see it, but many of you young people will see it, that we are moving from Dwapara Yuga to Treta Yuga.
You wanna round it up, Pop?
Yeah. You know, it's just saying live really, and winter is gonna… spring is gonna come after winter. And summer after spring, and there's good people and bad people. There are consequences to everything that you do. So the decisions you make bring forth the consequences, but you can't put everybody in one basket and say it's the same. I think would be the general day. Different pathways to the same destination. Very down the middle. You know, in terms of… what was he talking about? Kaliyuga, that era. The Kaliyuga was… Kaliyuga.
Yeah, Kaliyuga. That's the fourth one, isn't it?
Right. He didn't really go into it too much, did he? Kaliyuga is just again generalized over it. Saying there are all these Kaliyugas and they're basically like the seasons. So does it answer the question about the Kaliyuga? Not really, just…
Yeah. I think what we need to do is we need to see the other yugs as well, don't we? I mean, I did like what he was saying. I think he had some…
remember the yug thing a bit better after watching this, so…
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
what I'm
embedding
saying.
the learning, innit?
I think what he was saying was right there, you know, like… because I am of the ilk, even though, you know, I was just saying, like, you know, I do think our moral compass has been distorted. But I am also of the ilk that people should just do what they want to do, innit? As long as you're not hurting people and just do what you want to do, like, who can judge you? We all sin, if you want to use the word sin. We all do good, we all do bad. It's like, I just think, because I think there's a thing of like man-made law, innit? And then your moral law. Like your moral law is created by your values, innit? Your own personal values. And I just feel like people have traded a lot of their own personal values rather than things being like… See, I don't like to use the words good and bad because I think good and bad, there's a lot of context behind things. Like, you can do a bad thing for a good reason. Does that make it a bad thing? Do you know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of context that goes behind what people do, in my opinion.
Do a bad thing for a good reason. A bad thing is just a bad thing, and what would be a bad thing for a good reason that was justifiable?
Like,
Kill one person, save 100.
Yeah, if I seen an old lady getting robbed and I licked a man in his head and he dropped and he died, I've done a bad thing. But
yeah, but did you lick him in his head to drop and kill him?
So this is what I'm saying to you, innit? There's context to every
This is what I'm
situation.
saying. Someone died
good
is
and bad.
not a bad thing. It's the context of how he got to the
That's
dead
what I'm
part.
trying to say. It's
But-
not the action, it's like the motive in it, really. So what we're talking about is people's motives, is what I'm saying to you.
But it's not just motive, it's also a responsibility. You see a woman and you react. In any instance, reaction's not really good. So if you happen to kill the man and you was just sorting a woman, how can digging a deeper hole actually be helping anything? So you'd have to question how you made decisions in the first place more than is it good or bad. It was bad all the way. The woman is getting robbed, distraction, this and that, but you do something that kills the man. That's, that
But you
wouldn't
think that's
be
a bad
acceptable.
thing? You just say that's bad.
Well, good and bad can't be the same. This is all I'm saying. I can't see where good and bad can exist in the same thing. The intention was good, but in terms of you preventing or stopping or whatever, what was the intention? Because you killed him, was that the intention, or was it to stop him, or this
To
is what I'm
stop him.
saying?
But what if that was the only way I had to do? Listen, we're having a whole new podcast there. Gotta shoot. I've got a meeting. But we're gonna dig deeper into this. Yo, we out.
Peace.
Peace.